Hello again guys, and welcome for another Outlaws of Thunder Junction deck tech for the standard format. And today we're going to explore a user submitted deck from the MTG Goldfish website. So we call this one as the Rakdos Anvil by Genki. I think this is the username or the author of this build. And we take a look that it is still one of the existing archetype in the format, but considerably I think it was somewhat became unpopular because of the conversion of the metagame, which has somewhat affected or basically has majorly affected its gameplay. So we take a look at this build, which I think we would only have a new card, only a card from the new set, the Legion Extruder. So this is the big score version. So big score is like a special subset of Outlaws of Thunder Junction, which are still legal to play in the format for standard or also for the other older formats. But we take a look at its ability. It is a 2-cost artifact mythic that it enters the battlefield and deal 2 damage to any target. It has this ability that you can pay 2 tap, sacrifice another artifact, create a 3/3 colorless golem artifact creature token. So in that way, you can basically have an army or can create an army as long as you get to produce an artifact for it to become converted into a 3/3 golem artifact creature token. So what this build would probably fit on into is this deck, because again, the unicode unbuild deck is typically getting a kind of a board advantage in terms of producing 1/1 or a constant artifact creature for every turn. So we take a look at its ability again. Whenever 1 or more artifacts you control leave the battlefield during your turn, you will create a 1/1 colorless construct artifact creature token, and only triggers once its turn. But it has also the option to pay to tap, sacrifice an artifact. Unicode Anvil deals 1 damage to each opponent, and you gain 1 life. So in a way, with this, we can basically have an Anvil in play. You can also then use the created 1/1 into converting it through the extruder, making it a 3/3 golem. So in a way, it's very kind of making their artifact creatures more efficient, because having a 3/3 is a bigger threat as compared to that of a 1/1. So with this kind of deck, let's take a look at the breakdown as well as the other cards added. As you can see here, we have 12 artifacts, 18 creatures, 4 instants, 4 sorceries, and 22 lands. And we can see that most of these creatures are producing free artifacts. Like again, Double Talent Epicure and Blood Tide Harvester are your constant curve for 1-drop and 2-drop that can also create a blood token. So in any way, these blood tokens would suffice to be sacrificed to that or the anvil, or can also be used for Legion Extruder's ability. Also, we have another 2-drop here, which is Sir Ginger the Mill Ender. And probably just having to have this ability that whenever an artifact you control is put into a graveyard from the battlefield, it becomes bigger, and having also a free scry from your library. In a way, with this, I think this has also a bonus wherein it can have trample, hexproof, and haste as long as an opponent controls a planeswalker. But anyway, it can become bigger for each of the artifact placed into a graveyard. For example, the synthesizer is sacrificed. You can then put a counter on Serdinger to make it a 4/2 and have a scry 1. So for that, we have also another option here, which is Krenko, Baron of Stin Street. That's 2 copies in the deck. It is a 3/3 haste that you can tap to sacrifice an artifact, put up some counter on its goblin you control, in which including him also. And whenever the artifact is put into a graveyard from the battlefield, you may pay 1 and then create this army or a token again of 1/1 red goblin creature token with haste. So in any way, you can have these shenanigans as long as you have these triggers for Unicode Anvil or use of that of Legion Extruder. You can then get the benefit to add that mana and create these tokens. So in any case, you can just curve on with this kind of example, create your army, and then develop your board. Now, last but not the least, for the creature is the 2 copies of Odger Axonil. So this is from the Lost Caverns of Excellence set. So this god would basically have you to create this effect wherein it's not only a 4/4 trampler but also a red source you control will deal amount of non-combat damage less than of the power, it will deal damage equal to that power instead. So in case of this, since Anvil is dealing 1 damage to its opponent, it will deal equal to the power of Axonil, which is 4, so it will deal 4 damage extend. So that's a very good way to swing off a huge chunk of damage to your opponent's life total. At the same time, you can still be able to have a trampler or 4/4 body on your board that can also attack, and when it dies, it can be turned back as a land, Temple of Power, wherein you can just pay 3 again to tap transform it, but only if a red source you controlled has dealt 4 or more non-combat damage this turn, in only as a sorcery speed. But anyway, casting this one as or top card would mean that any non-combat damage effect would be very efficient for your way to somewhat finish off the game with that kind of setup. And then of course, again, I've been mentioning experimental synthesizer as more of the gas of this deck, because with this ETB effect and leaves the battlefield, so you can be used to fodder to the Anvil again. And then if in any case, you can just pay 3 to sacrifice this to create a 1/1, a 2/2, I mean, white samurai creature token with vigilance. But the good thing is that exiling the top card library and then you can play that card until the end turn is a very good way to get you a good card advantage. Now for this instant or sorcery, pretty much spot removals here in the deck. Again, we have 4 copies of Bolted Surge, which can be used to deal 4 damage as you sacrifice an artifact. And then Analytic Glare would also cost only 1 if you sacrifice a creature or artifact to destroy target creature or planeswalker. So in any case, these are solid spot removals in the deck, and for your lands are pretty much given with the Mana Fix, of course, Blacklead Cliffs, Haunted Ridge. Mirrex is also a good way to produce a mid-game support of creature, and take note that this is also artifact creatures, which mean that you can also use this one as a fodder for the Anvil and the Legion Extruder. And also we've included Manland as another form of threat in the mid-game. Channel lands, of course, Sokensan and Takinuma, and of course Solporo Springs as an added fix for a total of 22 lands. I do think though that we can still cut off a few lands, maybe 21 land only, to add more of this threat, or maybe another artifact here to fill up that slot, since your mana curve, as you can see, is just only 1.63. It's pretty low for that kind of deck, and most are pretty efficient already. You can just curve out turn 1, turn 2, and even at the turn 3 mana, you can just basically function already from that kind of setup, given that this is also a lot of card advantage to have. And your color distribution, you can check here that it's mostly red and black is only 12. But I think for the sideboard effect, you can still have some good options for black, such as Duress and variants of spot removals to help against the aggro and the mid-range matchups. And this one, mana fix pretty much even, so we don't really need to bother the fixing of this deck. And last but not the least are the tokens. We have 6 kinds: Blood Token, Construct, the Goblin Token, and Praxian Might, Samurai, and Spirit. So I think that's pretty much it for this deck tech. Again, we have Rakdos Anvil by Genki. If you have yet to try this out, I do hope you can get to check this kind of deck. But do prepare though for matchup, as I mentioned in the first part of the video, that temporary lockdown is your main concern of this, as can basically answer all of these artifacts, including your synthesizers, your 1-drop and 2-drops. So make sure that you can also need to have a good plan in the late game with the sideboarded function, or let's say in boarded games, that you can have those kind of answers of this. So pretty much these are your lineup for this deck. I think this would be able to suffice to be not really a tier 1, but another interesting take to have this one again back in the standard format gameplay, and would love to see this in your daily grinds on MTG Arena and MTG Online. So I guess that's pretty much it, guys. Thank you for watching this video. Let's have another more of these kinds as more of the published and user submitted deck texts are added. We are going to have a good discussion of this and share with you guys on the upcoming videos. Again, guys, thank you for watching, and see you on the next one.